Let's take a moment and talk about combat and martial arts in comic books. Whenever we do a street tier comic book matchup, one of the biggest determining factors that we utilize to find a winner is how good or skilled a fighter is. We've heard it all before. This individual is a master of all forms of martial arts. Or this individual is so good of a fighter that they have created their own form of fighting. Or this individual has downloaded or experienced XYZ in order to become as skilled of a fighter that they are. And while your knowledge in how many forms of fighting is important in determining how good a fighter you are, I don't believe it is the only factor. And I'm not talking about people's physicals, like their strength, speed, or durability, nor am I talking about their equipment, like their armor or their weapons. I'm talking about what makes a fighter a fighter. Now, this is going to be my opinion on how I break down how good a comic book character is in terms of combat. And I am doing this through the lens of a 5th degree black belt, someone that has been training in martial arts since I was 8 years old. 29 years of training in not only one style, which I have mastered, but also in various forms of styles that I have cross-trained with. So with that being said, let's just get into it. When determining how good a fighter is in comic books, I look at 3 major factors: their knowledge, their skill and application, and their experience. These 3 individuals are great representation of those 3 attributes. Allow me to explain. Based off his statements, Damian Wayne is trained by the League of Assassins, who are all masters of all forms of martial arts. He is also trained by Bruce, who stated that he gave Damian all the knowledge he has, as well as Damian knows things that Bruce does not. Damian, even for his young age, is an incredibly knowledgeable fighter. Wildcat is the most experienced fighter here. He has only one form of fighting that he practices and he's mastered, which is boxing. However, his experience outweighs any gap that he may have when it comes down to other forms of fighting. And Deathstroke may not be as experienced as Wildcat or as knowledgeable in forms of fighting such as Damian, but his skill and application, as well as his battle IQ, makes up for any difference. So let me give you an example. The League of Assassins have been stated to be a master of all forms of martial arts. As stated here by Nightwing, one of the consistently pleasant things about Raz's canon fodder, they've mastered all known forms of martial arts in the world. However, let's take a League of Assassins ninja, like a regular ninja grunt, who has a mastery of all forms of martial arts throughout the world. Are they beating Wildcat? My answer is no, because Wildcat's experience and his mastery in his one form of combat outweighs any knowledge that League of Assassins ninja brings to the table. Let me give you a quote from Game of Thrones, specifically Robert Baratheon, and I'm going to put my own flair into it. What is a bigger number? 5 or 1? Let's look at this again. What is a more powerful number? 5 or 1? You can have as many forms of martial arts underneath your belt, but it's how well you apply them and how good you are at them that is going to be the determining factor. Now, this is not to say that the amount of knowledge that you have is not important. It definitely is, and it can help close the gap on a character who is more knowledgeable than you. Let me give you an example. Superman, who I consider a good and reliable source of information, classifies Karate Kid as a class 15 fighter, and Superman classes Batman at a class 12. And this is no surprise. Despite the fact that Bruce has 127 plus martial arts mastered under his belt, or is stated to be knowledgeable and mastered all forms of combat, Karate Kid is considered the most knowledgeable fighter in the DC universe. He has mastered all forms of martial arts, known and unknown, on Earth and in the universe in the future. But if we look at one of their fights, let's take their Zero G fight that they had. Despite the fact that Karate Kid is more knowledgeable in fighting than Batman. Batman's experience, skill, application, and battle IQ allows him to hang in this fight, and the two of them go relative and equal to each other. The fight is eventually interrupted, but there is no denying that in a zero-G fight, something that Batman is not proficient in, is able to hold his own against Karate Kid, who is, by all statements and admissions by even Batman, a more knowledgeable fighter. After their encounter, Batman even states, while being a dick, "Don't, you outfought me once. You wouldn't in a rematch." Let's give another example. Black Panther. There's been a big debate on Comic Talk on whether or not Black Panther is a master of all forms of martial arts or just a master of a couple forms, as well as being adept in all forms of martial arts. I'm not going to get into that debate. I'm staying neutral on it. But for the sake of my argument that I'm making here, let's just play devil's advocate. Let's say that Black Panther is a master of a couple martial arts and is well-versed or adept in all forms of martial arts. Why would it fucking matter if he is a master of all forms of martial arts? Black Panther is a master fighter. He does not need to be a master of all forms of martial arts in order to be as good as he is. And this is because of his skill, application, battle IQ, and experience. Tying into the experience that he got from the King of the Dead abilities, if we placed Black Panther in a fight against Iron Fist, who generally speaking is considered the number 2 or 3 fighter in the Marvel Universe, in straight hands, I would still give it to T'Challa, even though on paper Iron Fist is a more knowledgeable fighter than Black Panther. Now, in my opinion, the reason for this is despite the fact that Iron Fist is a more knowledgeable fighter than T'Challa, T'Challa's experience, skill, and ability gives him the advantage. It makes him a better fighter, despite not being as knowledgeable of a fighter. The same thing could be said about Lady Shiva versus Batman. Not going to go into that debate, but although Lady Shiva is more knowledgeable in forms of fighting, she has mastery of all known forms of fighting as well as all unknown forms, where Batman has mastery of all known forms of fighting. I still consider them equals and relative to each other because Bruce's skill as well as his battle IQ and experience helps with him against Lady Shiva. Actually, both T'Challa and Bruce are great examples of characters that are well-rounded in all 3 categories. They are both incredibly knowledgeable characters, incredibly skilled characters with high battle IQ and a tremendous amount of experience. This gives both Black Panther and Batman the ability to scale up or close the gap on their peers or other fighters. Let me give you a real-world example of this. Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, I have been training in karate for over 29 years, since I was 8. And I am a 5th degree black belt in Kempo karate, as well as I have cross-trained with over 10 different styles. Mike Tyson, former world heavyweight champion, is a master boxer. As far as I know, he has not cross-trained in as many styles as I have. And Mike Tyson would destroy me in a fight because of what he brings to the table other than just his knowledge. See, it is this logic that I use that helps me consolidate the fact that although Sam Wilson is not as good of a fighter as Captain America, he's still able to beat him. Or the fact that Bruce, being a master of all forms of martial arts, can still get off guard by the Penguin's son. Because any martial artist or combatant knows that anyone can be beat on any given night. There are so many factors in a fight. It's not just how much you know. And we also have to take in consideration that while there may be writers who have combat training or have served or are martial artists, a lot of writers aren't. And they're doing things for the sake of the story. Now, at the end of the day, this is all just my opinion, and I wanted to share it with you guys. I would love to hear your opinions. So please, comment down below. Be respectful in the comments, not only towards me, but with each other. And please, respectfully duet or stitch this video with your opinions. You all have a nice day, and take care of yourselves.